I'm welcome to, excited to welcome Tom from our Dynamics delivery team. And I know personally, views is one of my favorite pieces of functionality within Dynamics. What you can do with it to be able to extract data, and just the recent enhancements that Microsoft has made to views and filters, I think is just fantastic. So, with that, Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Chad. And just to highlight what Chad has been talking about with a lot of these updates and changes to the CRM application, we do a lot of projects here at Forvis that are large transformational projects for organizations. But some of the ones that I enjoy the most are our small clients, the ones who call in because they have a question. I don't know how to do something. I need this small update to be done. And it's oftentimes those little items, which we love to be able to help people out with, to train them, to push that information out, that really make a huge difference for those organizations that are using CRM and help that user adoption. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. What I have is a demo organization. It's going to be pulled up. And what we'll be doing is talking about views. So as Chad mentioned, system views and personal views are a very foundational aspect of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. You see them everywhere. They're a key core part of what you do within the system. It also makes it a great place to be able to start getting your users more comfortable within the system. And I've often found that it's a training area and something that oftentimes falls by the wayside, especially as new users start coming into the organization. Some of that training on how to build views, add columns, share the views, and some of those different things you can do tend to fall by the wayside. So it's a great way to be able to give users more control in the system and allow them to really see and personalize things in a way that's going to help them with their particular workflow or reporting needs or whatever the case may be. So I've got a demo org up here right now. I'm going to go ahead and open up our Sales Professional app. And we're going to be focusing and starting to take a look at our opportunity menu. And we're going to take a look at some of the different things that we can do with views. So first things first, there are two types of views within Microsoft Dynamics CRM. You have system views. Those are views that are defined at the configuration level. So that means someone with system admin permissions is going to be creating those views, or there's a number of them that come out of the box as well. System views, for the most part, are going to be available and visible to every user within the organization. So when you come in, you install a fresh CRM application, you're going to see a system view called My Open Opportunities, or All Opportunities, or Closed Opportunities. Each one of those views has a defined set of columns, a defined filter, and a defined order, in which case those records are displayed to the user. Now, the other type of view, which is what we're going to work on building here today, is what's known as a personal view. A personal view is going to be one that is individual or unique to each individual user. So I, as a salesperson, am able to come into this opportunity table, and I am able to create a view that has exactly the information that I want on it, is filtered exactly the way that I want, and is available at the tip of my fingers anytime I log into CRM. The big benefit that you also get with personal views, as Chad mentioned before, is that I can take this view and I can share it with another user or even with a full team inside of the organization, and then everyone has access to that view. Typically, as we are working with different organizations, we try and find a good balance between system-wide views and personal views. The system views should be high-level views that are useful for everyone in an organization on the given table that you're working with. So for opportunities, something like Open Opportunities is a great, useful, generic view. Personal views, though, are where those filters come into play. So what we want to try and avoid doing as a system administrator, as a configurator, is creating a system view for every single salesperson, right? We don't want necessarily open opportunities for Tom, open opportunities for Chad, open opportunities for Sarah, and having those clutter up all of our system views. Rather, we want to give the foundational view out to our folks and then train them and allow them to create their own personal views to then filter that down and update the columns and information as appropriate. So what we have here is we have a list of opportunities. So this is our system view of open opportunities. you can see that we have a number of very basic columns on here: the topic, our customer, estimated close, estimated revenue, probability rating, and it moves forward onto there. So the first thing that I want to do is point out that, of course, you can switch between your system views by clicking on the name of your view and then picking another one. For example, My Open Opportunities. You can also set one of these system views to be your default view when you log into the system by going to the view and then in the dropdown, clicking at the very bottom where it says Set as Default View. This is a personal action that's done by the user, which means that this view will be that user's default anytime they navigate to this table, in this case, opportunities. Now on here, of course, the views are relatively responsive in that I can, of course, update the width of different columns as needed. We also have drop-downs on every column header, very similar to Excel, that allows us to sort our views. If it's a string column, so some sort of view, you have alphabetical sorting. If it's a date view, for example, you have older to newer, newer to older. Or we have options that allow us to filter down this view just based off of this particular column. So right now we know that all of these opportunities are open because that's, this is all opportunities. So we do have some in here that you can see are lost or won. So I can go in here and I can now click on Filter By on the status column, and we can say filter on opportunities that equal lost. When I hit apply, it filters down that view for me automatically. Now, a couple of things that you'll notice. As soon as we did that, not only did our view update, and you can see we have a small filter icon at the top of the column that lets us know that we filtered down on this particular column here, but the system view name has an asterisk added on to the end of it. That asterisk means that we have now customized one of our system views in some way. Think of it almost like an unsaved changes flag. It's letting us know that we have done something on here that's not your default or standard all opportunities view. So from here, we can continue to make different changes or updates. I can clear out this filter as needed. And while I can filter on any of the columns that are here within the view, I can also filter off of any column in the table or on related tables as well. So what I'm going to do is on my view here, I'm going to go to the Edit Filters button on the top right-hand side. When I do this, it's going to open up a new window on top of my view that's going to give me what the filters already are. So let me actually move to one. All opportunities has no filters because it's showing us everything. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Open Opportunities view and edit the filters. You can see right now that we have one filter, which is that the status of the opportunity equals open. Pretty straightforward. Now, let's say I want to adjust or update this filter on a column that's not necessarily in my view. I can go to Add. I can add a new row. And this row is now going to give me the ability to pick any field on my opportunity table in order to build a filter around. So I might say that I want open opportunities where the estimated close date field, and you can see we have a whole bunch of different operators that we can choose from. Different field types in CRM have different operator options, kind of like the filters. If it's a string field, it's pretty basic. Equals, does not equal, contains, begins with, does not begin with, your basic string filters. Dates, we have a lot more options. You can use actual specific dates, right? So the estimated close date equals today, or we can do something like estimated close date is in the next 7 days, or even more reflexive, we can do estimated close date is in the next 3 weeks. Now, as I hit apply, we can see that my list is filtered down to just these 3 records. The date filters and having responsive date filters is extremely helpful because what it allows you to do is to create and set these views without hard coding dates in. So if I always want to see my open opportunities in the next 3 weeks, regardless of when I look at it today, a month from now, 2 months from now, using that date filter is a great way to be able to do it. At the same time, I could also take a look, just to flip this around for a very good real world example. is we can say the estimated close date is older than, I'm going to say 99 years. Now, what does this tell me here right now? This view is going to tell me any opportunities that are currently open in the system where the estimated close date is any time in the past. I mean, realistically, you could probably do 2 or 3 years, right? 99 is a nice big number. We know we're going to hit everything in there. And now if I hit apply, I can see, lucky for me, I don't have any overdue opportunities at the moment. All of my open opportunities have an estimated close date in the future. But what these system views allow us to do is just really give an accurate, up-to-date list so that, as Chad mentioned, when you open up CRM in the morning and your users are going in, you want them to be able to immediately and quickly see, what are my opportunities that need an update? Which accounts should I be reaching out to here today? Which quote is currently pending approval and I need to go in and review it before it moves over to the next person? And building up these system views and training users on how to do personal views is a fantastic way of doing that. So next thing I'm going to do here real quick, let's go back in. We're going to do our next 3 weeks example again so we can get a few records on here. Nothing harder than finding a menu option when people are watching you do it. Here we go, next 3 weeks. So now that I have my set of records, I want to go ahead and I want to add in some additional columns onto this view. So I'm going to click on the Edit Columns button, and this is going to allow me to do 2 things. Number 1, I can move around any of the existing columns that are on this view. So I might say that I want the account to be up first. And if I hit Apply, we now see that we have the account at the very top. But what it also allows me to do is to add in additional columns. So when I click on Add Columns, once again, we get a list of all of the different fields that are available within the opportunity table for me to be able to pull in. And I might say I want to see the created on and created by for this opportunity. So I'm going to click on both of those fields. When I hit close and go back, they will now appear at the end of my list. Of course, I can move them around as needed. I can take one of these existing fields and remove it if I want to. And I hit apply. And now we can see our created on and created by fields for these particular records. Now, let's say I've gone through this. I've got all the information that I want. I've built up my view. It's filtered down the way that I want to see it. It's got the columns that I want in the order that I want. Obviously, we don't want users to have to do this every day that they come in. So what we are doing now is we've customized our system view. We are going to save this as a new personal view. And we do that by clicking on the name of our view. And then down at the bottom, we have an option that says Save as New View. A little window is going to pop up. We'll give it a name. Estimated close next 3 weeks. You can put a description in if you would like to. And now we hit Save. As soon as it's been saved, we now see that name appear at the very top. This has now become a personal view for me within the CRM environment. If I click the drop down, what you're going to see is this view appears along with all of the other views on the opportunity table. And we see that we have a small little person icon next to it. And that's what tells me that this is a personal view within the system. Now, let's say that this is a view that I've built and I really want someone else in my organization to have access to this without them having to build it themselves. In this case, what we can do is we can share this view. And the share option is all the way down here at the bottom of your view list. When I click on Manage and Share Views, I can choose to actually hide some of those system views. Actually, that's something I should say that your admin can enable that allows users to hide system views that they don't want to see. However, I'm going to find my new view right here, Open Opportunities, Estimate Close Next 3 weeks. I'm going to click the little meatball menu, and I'm going to click on Share. Also in that menu, of course, is where I can rename the view. I can update it. I can set it as default. I can do a lot of things. But from here, what I can do is I can choose a user or a team to share this view with. So I might pick a specific user right here. And this user, I can define that I want them to be able to read or see this view. Write means they can edit it themselves. Delete means they can delete it. Append and append to, you don't really have to worry about in this case. It's basically, can you attach it to something or attach other things to it? Can they assign the view to be owned by someone else in the system? And then can they share the view as well? So you can add multiple users onto here. And as a demo org, I don't have any other users other than my own. So you've got some service accounts here that are getting listed. But each user can have specific permissions added to them. Or what we can do is we can pick a team. So you can see here, I have a team called West Coast Sales Team. In this case, I can share the view with this team. I can give them, let's say, read permissions to it. And now any user within D365 who belongs to that team, so they get added onto the team record as a member, will now automatically have access to this personal view. This is an extremely powerful way, especially if you have a large organization. You have a lot of groups with personal views. Sharing them with teams is far and away the easiest way to make sure that new users have access. And that works not only for views, it works for personal dashboards, and even records as well. As you're sharing them, that you can share it with the team, and then as users are added or removed, they automatically get access to anything that's shared with that team. The last thing that I will talk about briefly, because I do want to make sure that we have time to get to a little bit of the what's possible, is that we focused very much on this view here of just showing you records and fields that are on the opportunity table, both for filters and columns. But it is important to note that as we add in new columns, we can go to our related section and we can pull in information from any related parent record. So let's say the city and the state from our account record can be pulled in. And even though it lives on the account, it's not on the opportunity, we can pull that into our view because it's a direct parent record. Same thing works for our filters. We can go to a filter. Instead of adding a row, we can add a related entity or table. And I can say, I want to pick my related account. And I only want to see accounts where address 1 state equals California, and hit apply. And this has now filtered my view down even further. So those filters and those columns, we can reach out to other tables as needed, which is a great way for us to be able to get all of the information that we need as soon as possible and all in one place for our users. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it back over real quick for our final CPE question. So if anyone has started dozing as I've been talking, now's the time to pay attention. We'll go ahead and show that. And Sarah or whoever, if you can let me know as that goes through.
Yep, we're on there. So, one of the things,
Okay.
We'd like to have you think about is your biggest barrier to CRM use. We covered a lot of things in this webinar so far. So, to be a power user, to really get that return on investment from it, to get fully support, is a lack of training or user adoption. Is your system outdated, or does the system not match your processes? Maybe it's a lack of processes on that one as well. Lack of a CRM strategy, or, I'm not sure, we don't have a CRM. So to get your CPE vote in there. And as that's going in, one thing I was thinking about, Tom, as we're talking about views, like I said, views is one of my favorite areas within Microsoft Dynamics because you can do so much with it. But I think it's also very easy to go view crazy. And suddenly you've got 50 different personal views on there. Do you have any kind of recommendations for creating views, saving them, versus, hey, I'm going to create this view, but then I'm going to utilize the filter section within there, versus having, 10 versions of essentially the same view?
Yep, absolutely. So I think one of the key parts too is, first of all, what you said, you create a general view and you filter down from there. Using some of the filters such as equals current user is on current user's team, doing some of those types of filters are great because you don't have to create extra views. It's responsive for folks as they go in. And then, of course, always encouraging people regularly to check and manage their views, clean up those saved views that they don't use anymore. Doesn't take up that much database capacity, but it's still good practice to really encourage them and say, have you looked at your personal views yet? And there are tools that we have on the outside that allow us to see all of the personal views, who owns them. And so if you need to target that down a little bit, Bob has gone a little nuts with system views. There are tools out there that we can use to figure out, which users we can maybe help consolidate a little bit more.
Yep. And a great thing from an admin perspective, I think is very important in terms of communication, because if fields change, if field names change, different things like that, it can obviously affect the views that you've created. So making sure you're consulting, your teams as you're making these changes, and then as you roll out any changes, let them know, because if they need to update their views, obviously that's very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or deprecating fields, right? You're getting rid of something. That's another big caution point. If you do that in stages, so users, if they have that view, they can see it's been deprecated or it's scheduled to be deleted or removed. You want to, give as many options for that as you can.
Gotcha. Great. And at the end of this year, a lot of people are still hustling, but there might be some downtime, in this holiday season where, you can take some time to go in and create some new views and then clean up some old ones as well. So with that, we've got some time left. And Tom, can you talk about kind of what's possible in Dynamics? And I know this could go a number of ways, but let's share some fun stuff, some insight.
You're not giving me like 8 hours to do this, which is about how much time I could probably spend. So hopefully everyone can see my screen again, just a couple minutes. There's a few of these that we actually talked about at a conference recently that I wanted to run through some of your different choices here. I know there were a lot of questions that talked about kind of reporting and usage. And I think one of the most important things when it comes to user adoption, and you're looking at your next year, is that you want to encourage people to come into CRM to do everything they're doing, right? Update their records in here, look at reporting in here, filter down the views, all of that you want to have happen in CRM. I had one company I worked with who drove me nuts every time. They had a sales manager who would come into CRM, would download all of the opportunities into an Excel spreadsheet, and then they would update them while they were sitting in a meeting on the Excel spreadsheet, and then an admin would have to go in after and update the actual records in CRM. And it took a long time for me to convince him that you could just go into CRM and update it while you're in there, right? And that it's done and it's updated and it's in. And so getting folks into the system is really one of the keys. So first couple of things that I wanted to show you that some folks might not be familiar with is actually related to views. So Microsoft has their kind of default system views, but there are a number of additional what we call custom controls, essentially PCF controls, that have been released both by Microsoft and by third-party folks that often have these released for free in different tool sets that allow you to change how fields or system views or different information is seen within the system. So what we'll see here is I've actually put a couple of these on the opportunity table. So what we see here right now is our open opportunities. It's our default standard read-only grid. However, because I added some new ones in, we have different options on how we want to see this view. So for example, I can show this as a Kanban, I don't know how it's pronounced, Kanban view that gives me, based off of sales stage, my different opportunities. And we can see some of the basic information in here, but it does also allow you to drag and drop and update the business process flow as it comes in. This is an out-of-box Microsoft control that just needs to be enabled by a system admin on your opportunity table. We also have a calendar view. Calendar view here, let me switch this over to month. I have this set right now, and I'm on open opportunities, that it shows me the estimated close date of these open opportunities. And I can click on one of these and get more details, but you can see here the name of the opportunity and some basic information that's on here. So if you wanted to see a calendar view of your opportunities, you could do that. Of course, I could also switch this to even show, let's say, closed opportunities. And now it's going to show me some of our different closed opportunities that were in here. So the records that are populating these views are based off of that system view that we built. Another one that we have, the pipeline view. This is a Microsoft provided one. Let me go back to my open opportunities here. This gives an extra control up top that shows the estimated revenue of the opportunity based off of the date, the status that it's in, the likelihood to win. And so you get a nice little visual up there in addition to the grid down below and a built-in sales funnel based off of the business process flow stage that you're looking at. And then finally, we have an editable grid. This looks very much like the regular grid, except I can go in without opening the record, and I can modify or update any of these fields to make changes without having to open up that record. It also allows me to group records, so I can group my open opportunities by the account that they're located with, and I can collapse these in here. And then there's also some additional filtering and other options you can do as well. So a lot of different ways aside from your basic grid that you can actually do this. Last thing I want to show you here real quick, because I want to make sure we get out of here on time. Another big thing that's becoming much more common recently has been for us to utilize Power BI for reporting, which is pulling information out of our database and being able to be much more interactive with it. The issue that some customers have had is it's tough to push people out to the Power BI service, right? Again, we want to keep everyone in CRM if we can. So there are the abilities to create both Power BI dashboards. That's a full dashboard, much like your CRM dashboards. Or as we can see here, we can actually create a Power BI dashboard, embed it directly into a form on CRM. So in this case, I'm looking at an account record, and this is showing me opportunities for this account. And it's fully interactive like you would expect from Power BI. So it allows me to change how I'm viewing information. Again, some of this info is blank, I apologize, but I can go through, create hyperlinks to different records, and embed and filter down this report to just this specific account, which if I were to go and switch over to a different account, right, we have a different set of records, and it's filtering that information down as we go through. So lots of options to really pull together and incorporate all of that information to get users into the system, utilizing the information and updating it directly in CRM to really drive that adoption. This is very much a lot of what I've been doing with the past year or so, getting this information in. It's been a huge benefit to a lot of our customers. So with that, I think I'm out of time. Of course, I could go on for a lot longer, notifications and all sorts of other things, but I think I'll go ahead and pass it over. And so I appreciate everyone's time here today.